Hello and welcome back to SuperCoach with Harry. Today I'll be looking over my round one review, how the team went, and then I'll look at my sits v start for round two and any potential trades for round two, looking at the round ahead. So in the first week of SuperCoach, obviously highly anticipated, split over the 2 weekends with the Vegas games. I was able to score a measly 1,212 points. Pretty disappointing if I'm going to be honest. However, across the board, I'm actually not too disappointed because I didn't have a single Centurion in my whole squad. So I thought getting over 1,200 without a Century was pretty impressive. So I ended up with, I had Harry Grant with a 94. I had a Kalon with a 77. Trey Mooney with a 94. Helam Lukey with a 95. They were my real top scorers, and everyone else was plottering around the 60 to 50 range. I was really happy with Paseka to knock out a 63. Arama Howe, who I brought in from the Titans, did well with a 57. And Moses Leo as well with a 95. However, I didn't end up playing him, and I ended up playing Faye Marnie as my other cheapy CT dub. But he still managed to get a 54, which wasn't too bad. And my two lowest scores were my two gamble plays, and that was Scott Drinkwater, who granted went off injured, so I don't really think you can take too much from the 21. And Reece Walsh, unfortunately, got 34 against the Panthers. However, he almost put Jordan Ricky through for a try, which would have been an extra 20 points. And he was so close to a couple of line breaks, couple of line break assists. That 34 easily could have been 70 against what looks like potentially the best defense in the comp this year against the Panthers. So, not too phased there. So the side went alright. I'm currently looking at no trades this week. That's the plan so far. So for my sit v start, the only players I'm changing is in the CT dub. I'm going to bring in Makasini, who's been named at left centre for the Tigers, and I'm going to drop Faymani out, so he won't be in the squad. And I think for my other CT dub cheapie, I'm going to keep Tom Chester and not play Moses Leo. I just think up against Val, Moses Leo will be at the Dragons in Wollongong. The Dragons actually look pretty good defensively against the Bulldogs. Not that they threw much at them, the Bulldogs. But I just think Tom Chester against the Tigers Saturday afternoon could be a high scoring game. And ironically, Chester and Makasini will be marking each other. So I guess if one's to go big, potentially the other one has a shocker. Or they can go try for try. Wouldn't be too bad for my Supercoach side. Um, and the rest of the squad pretty much looks the same. I think I'll play Lasardi against the Dragons. So my other players I'll just have Setu 2 on the bench, Faymani on the bench, Moses Leo on the bench, Pezet unfortunately on the bench, Atkinson on the bench, Arama Howe on the bench. And then I've got my Nuff in Miles Martin, who I wish was Noah Martin, but it isn't, and Brandon Smith. So no trades this week. My big sort of decision is around Scott Drinkwater. Do I trade him? Do I hold him? We've heard he's got the rib cartilage injury, which should essentially hinder his performance. But even if he's only playing at 70, 80%, the Cowboys have such a good draw. I think against the Tigers, last start there, he turned up against the Tigers. So I'm going to hold him for another week while we wait for price changes. I don't have too many trades I need to make next week, and obviously I'll probably boost. So I'll have 3 to make, and I'm currently only looking at getting in Noah Martin potentially. So I think I'll hold Drinkwater, see how he goes. If he has another shocker, then I also get another look at your Kalen Pongers, your Suafalongos, your Tom Javoviches, of which fullback I think I might want to bring in. So that's sort of what I'm looking at this week. And then I'm going to vice captain Reece Walsh against the Eels on Thursday night. If he can score 110, I'll probably take that. However, the risk of VCing Walsh is that I can't use Payne Haas in the VC or C options. So I've currently got the captaincy on Nathan Cleary. The Panthers up against the Sharks. I honestly don't feel great about it. I think the Sharks will be up for it. I think Penrith will be up for it too, and he was able to knock out a 65 last week, which could have easily been an 85. But he looks like a safe play, or I could go a Keon against the Roosters. He knocked out 77 last week. Or the other two options are obviously a Drinkwater would be super risky, but high risk, high reward. I could go like a Helam Lukey, who's a potential try scorer there, running at Jerome Luai. Or I could go a Herbie Farmworth against the Titans on Sunday night. I don't know how much I like that one. I may be swayed by public opinion on popular captaincy options. But in my head, I've got Reece Walsh going huge as my VC. So then I sub on Brandon Smith. Harry Grant goes to the bench, reserve him, and I'd probably take the reserve off Paseka. And that will be my team for round 2. As for next week, I think the only trades looking ahead will be Noah Martin in for Miles Martin, who was my dual nuff and looks pretty will do the job as enough, but Noel Martin looks like he's a must-have. So that will either be Lasardi or Arama Howe, depending on Sean Bloor coming back, whether Howe keeps his spot, how that all unfolds there. And that's sort of all I'm looking at, really. I want to have another look at Ethan Sanders. If he goes big, again, obviously you'll have to make the trade from Atkinson to Sanders. But at this point, I'm happy to watch. And then I'm going to keep Purdue at 5'8" for this week against the Tigers. If he can knock out a 65, I'm happy to hold. But if it's another 40 or below, I'll probably have to trade him to Cody Walker next week. So at this stage, I'm looking at Purdue to Walker and Miles Martin to his brother, Noel Martin. So that is my side heading into round 2. Obviously not the greatest start last week, but I'm actually pretty happy with the team. And look at the save trades earlier. I think I got most things right. My risk of the 5 CT dub cheapies, the 4 that played last week, all scored above 50. So you're pretty happy with that. And Macassini, I can't really see him scoring less than like a 40 or a 50. So that looks pretty good there. But players to just keep an eye on this week are probably Kale Iro, whether obviously up against the Panthers, if he could knock out a 70, I would be cheering. But if he can knock out another 40 in base, I'm probably still happy to hold there. Just depends on which way the Sharks opt to attack. Obviously, last week they went all right. But last week's a little bit of a write-off with the scoreline. So perhaps maybe this week they go back closer to the left. But as long as Iro can keep his base up, I'm probably happy to hold him. And if he cannot, he will likely become a bit of a luxury trade, but probably Iro to Latrell Mitchell. Frees up 80 grand, and Latrell will have the Tigers next week. But I just want to have another look at him. He could easily come out and only score 30 against the Roosters this week. So just one I would like to have another look at. So that is my round 1 review, my round 2 preview. No trades this week. VC, Reece Walsh, and probably C, Cleary heading into round 2. Thanks for watching, and be sure to tune in next time.